Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Kashif Booth podcast. If you're new here, each week I sit down with a guest and we discuss their career so far, the highs, the lows, and what's next for them. Today's guest is Keia Johnson. She's an entrepreneur from Memphis, Tennessee, and she is the founder of KJ Management. Welcome to the show, Keia.
Hey, Kashif. I'm so happy to be here. I'm excited.
Me too, me too. I'm just happy that you are the first episode of season four. It's still, it's crazy to say that, like season four, I've done a lot of episodes and, I do it by myself. I don't do this for like anything else. I just love giving people a platform and talking the stuff I talk about. I have a lot to say, so I needed to create some sort of platform. Okay. And it's just
That,
fun
love
to
that.
do, and I just love it. And I met Kia not even that long ago.
Uh,
Like, I don't think it's even been two
three-
months. Like,
yeah,
we're
it was
recording this.
yeah, yeah, like 3 months.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and we just connected, hit it off. And then when I found out you was a Libra, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Because because two of my best friends are Libras. So I was like, okay, there we go. And as you imagine, my wallet is going to be broke this month because they're very tied up.
Back to back to
Yeah, yeah.
back.
So I just thought, I worked with Kia. She gave me the great opportunity to work on my first theatre production called Storms Pass By in August. And it was such a great experience. I learned so much about theatre because, as you guys know, I'm all about multiple streams of income in 2024. So I need to be branching off in so many different areas. And I learned so much. And it was such a great experience, which I'm so eternally grateful for having. But as I said, we vibe so much. So I was like, I need Kia on the show. So, Kia,
Yes.
introduce yourself. Tell us about Kia. How did you get started in this whole realm of just this crazy industry we both decided to work in?
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm Keia Johnson, as you said, and I don't think I chose it. I think entertainment chose me. Really, it was music. Music chose me. And so I started as, a singer, singing in church, singing in talent competitions, singing in pageants, that type of thing. And then got into show choir in high school. I had a teacher that said, I want you to audition for this. You look like you could do something a little more than what you're doing. I'm like, what? So then I fell in love with like this whole aspect of dance and production as well as singing. And then I started acting. So it just kind of morphed. And as an adult, I did the corporate route, tried it, didn't really feel like a good fit. And I just found my love is still surrounded with music and theater and connecting with people. So that's kind of a broad way of saying how I got into this industry, if you will, but that's the way it happened, really.
That's really good to hear. I think that's a really good point to say that it chose you because that's the truth. Not a lot of people know that I actually started off in performing arts when I was a kid. So I wanted to be a singer. I could sing when I was young. Don't know what happened now. I was going to performing arts schools as well, like on the
Mhm.
weekend. And so it was like singing, acting, and dancing. So,
Yeah.
and I kind of grew out of it, ended up in sports, doing lots of like track and field. But
Mhm.
then now I fell back into it and I'm in film. So, it kind of just pulls you back. You think, oh, no, I don't do it anymore. And you just kind of come running back. So that's so cool to hear. So, how did you even just how did you work towards where you are now to be able to be in London and doing
Mhm.
a master's degree at Goldsmith University? So, I've read your bio, I did my research. So it's like you've done so much like theater and singing and performing like up and down the country or across the world. So like what was the journey from, okay, this is what I want to do to
Mhm.
actually making it a reality?
Oh gosh, a little bit of crazy, a lot of faith, a little bit of fear. Ain't gonna lie, and I know faith and fear don't coincide in the same
Mm.
space, but I'm just being real.
Hmm.
There was a little bit of fear, but there was a lot of faith and a little crazy. Um, After the pandemic, I think everybody has that kind of that bullet point of after the pandemic, this happened, right?
Hmm.
So after the pandemic, set everybody down and it really allowed me to stop just going and really
Yeah.
assess what's important to me and
Hmm.
what I wanted to
Hmm.
do. musicals started to come out of me as far as writing.
Mm,
And I realized that I teach, I love teaching young people, but I want to be still a part of the creation process of stories, especially stories of representation, which as I started to research, there just aren't a lot of, Black women writers on the musical side of things. It's getting better in plays, but it's still not a lot. But it's even way less on the musical side of things. And so I knew that I couldn't just jump out there and say, I want to write a musical. I wanted to learn how to do it correctly. And to me, the only two cities in the world that you could go to learn how to do it correctly is New York or London.
mm,
And I just felt like, you know what? I Googled schools. Goldsmith came up. At the time, I didn't know it was London. But then when I found out it was London, I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm at a space in my life where I could afford to just go. And when I say afford, I don't mean money wise because it's very expensive, but I mean like to take time out of life, my life that I had created here in Memphis, and go somewhere else and try to learn from the greats, which I feel like I've got a chance to do. So
that's really good. That's really good. And how did you find London? From being from Tennessee, coming to London, oh, London City, what what were your first impressions?
oh, I
Have you
should
ever
have had
been
a
here
PR
before?
coach.
Have you ever been here before?
I have,
Okay.
absolutely. I definitely been to London before, definitely have been to Europe before.
Mm,
So I wasn't like a novice in that way.
okay.
But visiting and living are two totally different experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that London has there's so much access. You can
Mm-hmm.
access museums, history, art, all the different types of food and like it's all there. It really
Mm-hmm.
is. The issue is though, you don't know how to find it sometimes when you're one person in the city of
Mm-hmm.
11 million.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I've just felt very, very isolated, very like
Mm-hmm.
thirsty for connection and community.
Mm-hmm.
And everywhere I thought I would get it, I didn't quite get it.
Mm-hmm.
I met you a few months ago, but it was, I mean, I had gone through almost a whole year of school at that
Mm-hmm.
point and just kind of felt very isolated. So
Mm-hmm.
as I think it's Robert Frost, I may be quoting that wrong, but it was the best of times and it was the worst of times.
Mm-hmm.
So it was
Mm-hmm.
kind of that type of experience for me,
Mm-hmm.
just being honest.
No, no, no. That's a good perspective because a lot of my friends who I've made in the last 2 years or so who've come over from other countries, they've all said similar statements that they
Mhm.
find it quite hard to make new friends,
Yeah.
or if they do make friends, it's not real, genuine connections. It's very surface level. It doesn't go deep. And it just confirms that London is bad vibes. Okay. Like people, we say it, we like London is bad vibes, like because people will be like, "Hi, morning," and they're like, like. But other places, when I travel, it just feels so nice and welcoming. I don't know why London is like that, and it's no surprise to me why some of the time I connect with people who aren't British, like on a
Right.
whole nother level. Like people have always said, the love of your life is not in the UK, and I think they might be right. They've always said that to me. So we'll see. As much as I love Black British culture, I
Yeah.
understand that there's certain things pulling me in different directions, and I'll just try and find a way to balance London and wherever I end up. So I
Yeah.
totally understand that, but it was so good just hearing that because, like I said, most people do, but like being here and studying and doing like musical theater because you've come from that background. You starred in The Color Purple, you starred in so many off-Broadway shows and
Mm.
you know it, and you know how to write, you know how to sing, you've done all of that being a singer-songwriter, don't be humble. Um, so like what was it? Did you go into it with any like preconceived notions about what you expect about the course,
Mhm.
or did you kind of just go in it with an open mind?
I tried to be as open-minded as possible, but I did have expectations. I'll say
Mm-hmm.
that. I expected for people in theater to be like collaborative.
Mm,
And it seems
mhm,
very simple to say, but I'm just learning that collaboration is even a skill that isn't just built in.
mhm, mhm,
Sometimes it has to be taught, and that was a little off-putting to me. Um, I definitely got exposed to shows that I never on my own would have read or
mhm,
saw or looked at, and it just goes to show you again how completely not related, but kind of related, how dangerous it is for all of these tech companies to have these algorithms that force you to only see what you like to see, because
Hmm.
then you're never introduced to a different thought. And having to watch shows that I never would have watched, I learned so much and I was opened up to so much more, and it improved my writing. One of my classes that I had to take challenged me in a different way, and my writing changed because of that class. So
Hmm.
I think it's dangerous to only see what you want to see and only learn what you want to learn.
Hmm.
And I didn't expect that. So that was
Hmm.
a nice surprise.
Hmm.
But on the flip side, I expected more collaboration, and
Hmm.
it didn't
Hmm.
work out that way. And that was a
Hmm.
little bit disappointing.
Hmm. I think the issue is that so many people just they look at things as, yeah, I want to be paid. I want to be
Yeah.
paid. I want to do this. It's doing this for such a long time independently and knowing how to collaborate with people or have to like offer smaller roles or smaller payment to people. It is like the pain of my existence because people will be trying to lowball you. They think that you're trying to lowball them, or they feel like they have a higher purpose somewhere else. So it's just all this little thing. So it's like people don't understand community of like, you collab now, I will get you something later, but people don't do that, or they don't understand the value of networking across when that's so
Right. I
important.
think it's that. I think it's
Like, networking
yeah.
up is important, but listen, those people up, you have to chase them like three, four times for an email for response to your email. Networking across, you're building a community and it
Absolutely.
just helps you more. And as I said, the bad vibes. It's just not like
Well, and
and,
if you know your history in any situation, a record
mhm,
label, writing teams, they start
mhm,
out because they have a common interest either in a story, an
mhm,
idea, a sound, and they build from
exactly.
that. It's not
Mhm,
transactional right off the bat.
mhm,
And I think that's why it's important to work with people that have causes that you believe in and that you align
mhm.
with. But yeah, that was lacking, that
Yeah.
understanding.
I get that 100%. So what do you love so much about musicals? What is it about musicals that makes you, besides you seeing the gap in the market, which we'll get
Yeah.
into later, but what is it
Yeah.
about musicals that you just love so much?
Uh, I just feel like musicals are a really long song. So like
Mm,
everything you couldn't get in a song, you can get in a musical. And I guess ultimately I love storytelling.
mm-hmm,
I love to be able to present something to someone that may think the story is going to go this way and it goes somewhere else. And like that element of surprise and understanding that humans are varied and
mm-hmm,
but human emotion is all the same. Like we can all connect on the human experience
mm-hmm,
and human emotion. And so musicals give to me a way. I always say music is a universal language. So musicals are the universal storyteller. Like,
mm-hmm,
as long as
mm-hmm,
it's
mm-hmm,
good, people I believe are gonna fall in love with it. So that's
mm-hmm.
what I think I love about
Mm. So
musicals.
what are some of your favorite musicals on stage and in movies?
Oh, oh Lord. So, I have to give my disclaimer. I've seen now over
Hmm.
60 shows since I've went.
Yes.
So that has changed
Hmm.
tremendously.
Mm.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
See, I love putting people on the spot.
Ah, so I really, really, really fell in love with Sundays in the Park with George, which is a Sondheim musical that I never would have seen had I not
Mhm,
come to school here. But it deals with the story in several generations, which I just think is beautiful, and how it connects, and the music is just so good. Um, Wicked used to be my favorite. I
mhm,
don't know that it's my favorite anymore. And I know the movie's coming out, and of course we're going to support it.
mhm,
Um, but I know why I loved Wicked. And I loved
mhm.
Wicked because the lead had a skin color that was different than everybody else. And
I
it
get
made
that.
me differently.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm,
just saw a little black girl in my
mm,
mind is what I
mm.
saw, even though she was
Same,
great.
same. I'm
Um,
like, yeah.
yeah, and all the animals having
Mhm,
different things, and
mhm.
so that story was just always so so important to me. Um, yeah, I'll stick with that. I'll stick with that.
Okay, okay. No, that's good. No, I totally agree with Wicked because when I saw Wicked for the first time on stage, I was like, so if you can understand the story of what's her name? What's the name? It starts with an
Elphaba,
E. Yeah.
Elf. Yep.
Yeah. If you can understand that, and when we're trying to explain to you about racism, you want to act danced. That's and we'll leave it right there.
And we'll
Okay,
leave it right
because
there.
it is
Yeah.
clear as day what that
Yeah.
story is telling you. And if you don't see how
Yeah.
that can be applied to real life, bar the green
Absolutely.
face,
Yeah, you're the
then
problem.
you're being woefully ignorant.
Exactly. Ooh, woefully.
Yeah, you know, you have
Like
to bring
that.
up, listen, I am, what's the word I'm looking for? See, now I've lost the word. Said something good and now I've lost the word. Listen, I have great vocabulary, okay?
Yes. Yes. Yes, you do.
Yeah, so yeah, so that's really good to hear. I want to see that play now. I want because like as I said, the more that we've been able to work together, I've seen what did I see? I saw like a Nigerian dance piece a couple of weeks ago, which was so interesting. Never been to like a dance, never been to a
Yeah.
dance performance and follow that storytelling. So interesting.
Yes.
Like I saw the Hot Wing King, which was
Yes.
good.
Yes. Yes. We
Yeah.
talked and never.
You know, and I really now want to see that in Memphis. Like I want to see the original I really want to see that because and
Yes,
I
you
think it's so good because what I've learned getting into like musical theater as well is like being enamored by theater. Like, oh my gosh, it's so different. I'm enjoying a show, but now I'm able to look at it with that lens of like, okay, now
Yeah.
something goes off here, you know, like enjoyed it, but and I can give those critiques as to, you know, as being
Yeah.
a film producer. And so it just shows you how they're not that much of a difference, you know. So that was what was so good. So
Yeah.
what we are going to get onto is the brilliant production, you know, which was, you know, written by this playwright, you know, all the songs written, like, oh my God, like, listen, one song was stuck in my head. I was like, I need this on Spotify, like, now. It was in my head all the time. I was playing that rehearsal clip all the time. But guys, we're going to be talking about Kia's play, Storms Pass By, which I worked with her on, which we did a great research and development on. We did
Yes.
that in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Don't ask us how we did it. Um, what we did, but we
We did.
did.
We
And
did.
you know, it's such a great story, and I can't wait to see it developed because it has so much potential. So tell the audience about Storms Pass By and how did you come up with it? You know, what's the history? Because I love the history of it because it's such an untold story.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you again. I tell you all the time, but I need to say it publicly too. You were just such a godsend for that experience and came in just ready to work and get it done and tell this story of Storms Past By. So, um, to be quite honest, it was born out of heartbreak.
Mhm,
I had gone through a real hurtful heartbreak.
mhm,
And when I started to think about what brought me back to myself,
mhm.
it was the love of my friends. It was the love of my family and
Okay.
I felt like we don't see those stories a lot. It's always boy meets girl, girl falls for boy,
Mm,
boy meets boy,
mm,
boy. You know, it's always romantic.
yeah.
So I wanted to dance with this idea of most of us have had longer friendships than we've had relationships, you know.
Mm,
And I wanted to dance with this idea of that love and what would you do for your friend. So that's where the core of the story came from. Then because of the classes I was taking, I felt a responsibility. I want to be the type of writer that whenever I write something, there's still a piece of history that you're getting, an unknown fact that you didn't know that's actually real.
mhm,
Um,
mm,
I've always known about Hilton Head and Hilton Head originally being Mitchellville, which is one of the first freed Black slaves were living for over 100 and something years. They had their own stores, they had their own land, they had, you know, they bartered with each other unbothered for over 100 and something years before corporations came in and said, oh, this would be a great beach. We're going to take the land and make it something great. So I just wanted to rewrite some narratives, especially for Black Americans, that we weren't always just slaves.
mhm,
Like we had land, we had businesses, we have special powers, is the way I see it, to go through any type of transatlantic slave industry and still have ancestors and descendants. You
mhm,
have to be special and powerful. So
mhm.
dancing even with that metaphor of us having magic and actually putting magic in the show is what the story is about. So Flo is our character that is actually deceased and comes back because she loves her friend and he's stuck in grief and she wants to get him out of that. And we have a third character, Hope, who is again a double entendre of inspiring him but inspiring us as well. So that's a general
Yeah.
around the world type of summary of the story.
No, they'll get it. And one thing I love was that the what I need to want you to touch on was because within the backstory of like this, the flyers we gave out for people to read and the
Yes.
opening presentation really highlighted some of the I don't want to say urban legends, I say, about, some of the ancestors being spirits and
Yeah.
visiting the descendants of them, where does that come from and why was it so important for you to be able to share that within the story?
Ooh, that's kind of a heavy question, and I may be getting too out there, but just reel me back in. So again, in my studying, I realized that when Africans were sold into different countries and all the colonialism happened, we lost our religion as well. And a
Mm,
lot of our religion was very closely connected to spiritualism, rituals, like ancestry,
mhm,
and we got colonialized into Christianity.
mhm,
And in some ways, I feel like we literally lost connection with our ancestors, and that was all intentional. So I
mhm,
wanted to even bring back that idea with the very limited knowledge I have about, our history and what our descendants and how they worshipped and how they were connected to the earth and used the earth to heal and inspire and stuff. I wanted to bring that element back. And just bring a pride of Blackness and humanity that wasn't laced in trauma.
mhm,
Although one of our characters is a spirit, it's not about her death. It's about how she didn't get a chance to live and how she wants to encourage everybody else to live. So that's more of the emphasis than
mhm.
the trauma that we normally see when we go to see a Black musical or show.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And how did you come up with the songs? How long does it take you to write a song? Because
Ah!
I was in rehearsals and I was like, everybody can sing. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not around actors like that who can sing. Like, yeah, these people can act, but they can't sing. And these guys are singing, okay? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, And as you know, Hope Just a Little was my favorite song. That was in
Yeah,
my
that was your jam.
all, all day long. I'm just like humming it. It was ridiculous.
Oh, I
And
love
it was on
that.
loop, honestly. Even when I was able to get the footage from the
Yes.
R&B, I was playing that too.
Oh, that's so
So, how did you come up with this?
sweet.
Like, I find songwriting fascinating, and you wrote all the songs and with your composer Devereaux. So, like,
Yes.
how did you? Because he helped compose it whilst he was in London and he was in America.
Yes.
So, how
Yes.
did you work together to do this? Like,
Time zones,
fantastic.
continents. It was a lot.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna say circle back to that first point that I said
Mm,
about collaboration, right? When
mm,
you have someone that you collaborate and work well with,
mm,
it makes everything easier.
mm.
So I would literally, I had like an idea of the story, right? Like
Okay.
a rough, if you want to call it, short story version of what I wanted to say.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just was like, okay, this feels like it should be a song. So sometimes I would have like a couple of phrases and I would hum, like I would sing them and send
Mm-hmm.
it to him. And Devereaux would then say, okay, are you thinking fast, slow? Like we would have some parameters and then he would just send back. And
Okay.
that's how we work, like voice notes,
Mm-hmm.
Dropbox, and we just knocked it out. We had our little time schedule, like, okay, boom, I gotta have these many songs done. But it flowed because I was excited about the story and I believed in it and I loved the music that was coming back. And I just felt like we were saying something in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't take that long, but I was in a great space. Like now,
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Okay. Well, you still
I'm
have
so
them. That's the
stressed.
thing. Like you have so much songs. Like you have like what, five, six, no, it's about 7 or 8 songs.
Yes,
So
a
yeah, and then you have like a whole show to fully develop as well. So it's
yeah,
like there's so much more for you to be able to take on from what you did.
absolutely.
And guys, Kia is a very strong woman. And I know we don't like always putting that strong black woman trope on black women, but she is very strong and determined and driven because for her to do an R&D of this show independently, then do the same show in a different version a month later for her dissertation. I know you could do it because I could do it. So I know those work ethics and how it goes. We just don't sleep and don't have no rest, but you can do it. And for you to do that back to back was fantastic. But how was it for you to be able to do your own version and then do the version that you were told to do. Because guys, we'll just say in a roundabout way, you know, the subtle racism that is the Britain is known for shine its light for Kia. And so we were able to pull off Storms Pass by with and black cast after being told that's not possible. So Kia was able to rework it and do it for her dissertation. So for you to be able to do both,
Yeah.
and how can I put this? Know how to make it for a black audience and then make it for a mainstream audience. What did you learn between those two experiences? Do you
I
adapt?
learned
Oh, and
that
would you adapt it to the mainstream audience as well? Sorry to cut you, but I wanted to add that. And okay.
no,
Mm,
this story wasn't intended that way.
mm-hmm,
Um, I don't have a problem writing another story that I
mm-hmm,
think is, but this story wasn't intended that way. And when I say adapting it for the mainstream audience, I think everyone should be interested in all cultures. Like
mm-hmm,
this world is full of so many amazing, wonderful things. But I was intentionally trying to create space for Black stories and Black actors to do new work and to not always be cast as the maid or as the comic relief or as the overly sexual or sexually desired
mm-hmm,
character. I didn't want those tropes. So this story was specifically for that. What I learned is that you have to be truthful to yourself. You have to honor your work, but then you have to also understand when it's not about your work,
mm-hmm,
right? The workshop was about my work. It was about me trying to discover what I need to do, how I could fix, how I could make things better. The dissertation and my final project that I had to do was for my dissertation and for me to get
mm-hmm,
that grade. So I had to kind of separate some of the specific desires I wanted to see on stage and
mm-hmm,
just get the task done. And
mm-hmm,
I hope that makes sense because it was hard to
mm-hmm,
feel like, I'm watering down myself, but this wasn't the space for that.
mm-hmm,
And I'm so glad you're asking like a really honest question. I would say to anyone that has to be in majority spaces, a lot of the time we feel like we have to water ourselves down. You don't have to do that, but understand what the task is.
mm-hmm.
And if you can't be your full self in this place, you've got to find the place where you can. And that's kind of what I took away from it.
That's a really good point. It is really good because sometimes you do have to know how to play the game, but
Mm-hmm.
we as Black people need to get to the point where we need to stop this. Oh, you need to code switch, or you need to act like this. Once we
Right.
realize that it doesn't matter what you do,
Yeah.
non-Black
Yeah.
people are still going to have the same perceptions of you. So
That's it.
complaining about the perception what we're doing is just ridiculous because they're going to say it regardless. Whether you are prim and proper or whatever, you're CEO of a whole major company, they're still going to have the same perception of you. So just be yourself, tell the story that you want to tell, and that's it. Play the game when you need to, but you can take Storms Pass By the way you want it to and be told because I could easily see
Yeah.
some all white cast doing this on some Disney show and they'd love it. Oh my God. And it would be based in like, I don't know, New York. It'd be based in some small town in New York or something. Like, do you get what I'm saying? So the issue and what I've realized when I break down markets and when I look at certain things, the issue with, and it doesn't necessarily always mean that they're racist or they're hateful people.
Yeah.
It really is that some people, when they don't see themselves recognized, they switch off.
Exactly.
So that's what it
Yeah.
is. So that's why majority audiences won't watch something with a predominantly Black cast because they're like, well, oh, that's not for me. That's for Black people. That's
Exactly.
where
And
their
they're not
mind
used to it.
goes. Yeah.
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I completely understand that. But because
Right.
they're not used to being the majority that is
Right.
represented in media,
Right.
they're like,
Right.
okay, oh, well, that's for Black
More into-
people. That's fine. It's
Yes.
no issue. I just don't want to watch that. That's literally it. And so they need to learn to remove that bias and actually just be open to Black stories that aren't about trauma and history, because that
Yeah.
doesn't make you an ally by being, oh, yeah, because I'm going to some African museum. Okay.
Right.
Like that's
Right.
not relevant to me now in 2024. The story
Right.
you're telling is relevant because everyone can relate to grief, depression, midlife
Uh,
crisis. Life
right.
is hard. So
Right.
everyone can relate to that regardless
Right.
of your skin tone. So that's what
Yeah.
people need to realize. And once people get that, that's
Yeah.
when we'll move forward. Who
And
knows
it takes
when?
more, exactly. It takes more writers in this space. When I went to see for
Mm-hmm.
Colored Boys, which I
Mm,
hope if people are in London, I hope you got to see. I'm sorry, for Black Boys. It was based on For Colored Girls, but for
mm,
Black Boys, oh my gosh, like it
mm,
was just, I'm looking around the room and I went to see it twice and to see
mm,
such a varied audience, but more than anything, to see all of these Black men in
mm,
the theater, all of these Black women in the theater,
mm-hmm,
all of these young people in the theater, all of these white people in the theater. But we were all bought into this story because it was
mm-hmm.
beautiful. It was
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But that writer had to create the work for this to exist in the
Mm-hmm.
space.
Mm-hmm.
So I really think that, it's just, we just need the opportunity
Mm-hmm.
to show it. And
Yeah,
once people realize, like, oh my gosh, I have brothers, I have uncles, I have sons, I can go see this story, you know what I mean? Because it's so great, then we're
exactly.
headed in the right
Mm-hmm.
direction. So
And I'm so
that's
happy
what
you mentioned for Colored Boys because that is just the UK version. Like that's something what the creator, the writer of that took from that classic, for colored girls play,
yeah,
obviously turned into a movie and then adapted it for men. So I really hope that it does come to the US because that would be
I hope
great. I
so
think
too.
that would be phenomenal. That would be huge, I think, in America as well. So
I
hopefully they
agree.
are planning to do because that when you saw it like this year, sorry, that
Yeah.
was like the third run. So it's been going on
Yes.
for quite a while. So
Yes.
so hopefully it does. So we'll see. Fingers
Yes.
crossed it does come to America because it will be
I hope
massive.
so.
Yeah. So but I'm just so happy you was able to achieve everything you wanted to achieve with Storms Pass By. And so what's next? Are you still developing Storms Pass By? Like how do you feel?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. So I actually I pitched it for Beam, which is a new musical theater conference that happens every other year. So all my other writers out there, if you're not familiar with it, get familiar with it. It'll happen in 2025 and then another year before they do the pitches and stuff again. But a great opportunity because no matter what, they give you feedback on your story, feedback on your presentation. And if you're going to be in this field, you're going to have to pitch all the time. So you might as well,
Hmm.
having someone be able to give you feedback on what worked and what didn't is just like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
is such a
Hmm.
blessing to have. So yes, I did that. I've done some other things. Like I said, I wanted to pause to take in the feedback that we got from the
Hmm.
R&D and then like just rest my brain.
Hmm.
But I want to fix some things, work on some
Yeah.
things, and try
Hmm.
to do another, hopefully, workshop, whether it be Beam or somewhere else. But I'm hoping to continue to develop it and work on that.
Hmm. Well, keep me updated because listen, if I have to catch a flight to Memphis to
Yes.
yes, because I want to definitely see it with like the authentic Memphis accents and all that. I'd love to honestly, I want to see that. I think the actors we got did a great job, especially with all the drama we had. You don't need to get
Yes.
into that.
Yes.
But like I want to see with you just having your team and your community around you. I say this to a lot of my friends who've come here, like in the last couple of years. I want to see you in your element where you're with your people, your safe space,
Yeah.
And one thing I'll say is that safe space is used very lightly.
It
Just say
is.
that.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And seeing where you was at, I just felt like my job as like just being a production assistant. Some people were like, "Why did you do that?" I'm like, "I need to learn." So I'm always gonna take a lower position. I'm not gonna act like I know everything. And seeing you just in this space of like, oh my gosh, like just my head is about to explode. I've
Mhm.
been there and I wanted to make sure that you were in this calm space and to project positivity. And it's really important to do that. Anyone listening, if you're going to create a safe space, how you create a safe space is removing the load, making sure that the person who is in that is calm, making sure that they have positivity around them. And
Yeah.
also like if you're a faith-based person, we were praying, we
Yeah.
were praying.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah.
not a faith-based person or you believe in the universe or whatever, call upon the universe and meditate. You have to block
Absolutely.
out all of the noise because
Yeah.
if you don't believe in Christianity and stuff, the devil will attack because that's what he does. And you need to learn to create these safe spaces and block out negativity. And that's what a safe space is. And without that community, without positive thinking and affirmation, you're not going to
Right.
get that. And that's what we did. And I'm so
Yeah.
happy we did because the love in that room at the end was just palatable.
Oh
Like it was
gosh.
just
I hate
bouncing.
that we don't have any pictures from on the stage, like
Yeah.
looking up because I
Hmm.
was just overwhelmed.
Hmm.
You saw me, I was almost sliding
Yeah.
down the wall when
Yeah.
we opened the doors and people just kept coming, kept coming. I'm like, where are these people
Hmm.
coming from? What,
Hmm.
what, what?
It was
Oh my
sold out,
God, sold
guys.
out.
An
I can't believe
R&D was sold out. It had like 100 and something seats. I can't remember how many seats. Almost 200 seats. No empty seat at all. No
it was
empty seat.
it was
Yeah.
really, really special. I
Hmm.
wanted to add to that too, though, like, and you told me this, and I just have to share this. Like,
Hmm.
I had inklings on certain things that I needed to do, certain people I needed to cut, certain people I needed to not communicate with.
Hmm.
And I didn't listen to that. So all of my creatives out there, especially if you're someone who is intuitive, which I
Hmm.
feel like if you're a visionary, you're automatically intuitive because that's why you have vision.
Yeah.
Um, don't second guess it. If it's not feeling right, if I can't depend on you in a R&D where we have specific,
Hmm.
you know what I mean, roles to do, um, save yourself a lot of stress and just cut it. It's not personal, it's business, but also if you've been given a purpose or vision, there's responsibility in telling that story and doing that thing and executing that
Hmm.
gift. You have to do it. And
Yeah.
anyone that comes to distract you from that is intentional and you know you're on the right path, but you got to be willing to cut it. And that's what I wish I had done. I wish I had cut a
Hmm.
lot of people quicker so that
Hmm.
we could have just,
Yeah.
really focused
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
and had it even better
Hmm.
than what it was.
Hmm.
But it was a great job.
Yeah, yeah. And
Great
that's the
job.
thing, guys. You always learn from your mistakes. Always remember that because I kept on saying to Kia, listen to your gut.
Yep.
Gut feel. I always say this to everybody, what's your gut saying? What's your gut saying?
Yep.
You have to live with that choice for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
Even if it's just
Absolutely.
buying a new pair of glasses or new pair, what is your gut saying? Do you like this? What's your gut feeling? Just stick with it because it's a gut feeling for a reason. And that's God telling you I'm telling you what it is. Don't stray away. It's the devil saying, nah, it's something else. And that's what we learned. And kids learned that. So that's why the next R&D, listen, if I can get a flight to Memphis to see that in person, I'm going because I really want to see it. So I
Yeah.
love that. It was so good. And I think I really hope that people who have been listening are encouraged by whatever you're doing, just stick to your gut. Whatever you're doing, know that there's never going to be an easy ride. It's never going to be
No,
an
it's
easy
not.
ride.
There's no such
Hmm.
thing. And I hear people say, well, I'm just waiting for the right time. Like, time is a funny
Mm,
concept.
yeah.
Like, it's really a funny concept because you can think, none of us know how much time we have. And that was
Hmm.
also part of the theme in the story. Like,
Hmm.
you can think you have forever and something happen and it alter your
Hmm.
life drastically the next day,
Yeah.
So I would say don't be arrogant in thinking you have all the time in the world to do those things that you love to
Hmm.
do. And that's part of why I came to London. I just feel like, you know what? Why not? I got
Hmm.
accepted. I don't want to regret anything. Let me
Hmm.
go and let me do this. And I had an amazing self-actualization experience,
Hmm.
is how I'll say it. Yeah.
But that's so good because you learn so much about yourself. That's the
Right.
thing. And we're always learning about ourselves. I love getting older because I'm learning new things about myself. And God's timing is God's timing. So, do it now. Don't wait for anything. If I sat around waiting for stuff, who knows where I'd be right now. Okay.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah. So I really like that. I really like that. So that's really good. So I want to move on just a bit. I'd love to
Yeah.
get your thoughts on what are your thoughts on this current era of theater? Because
Mhm.
we are in the era of them trying to make sure that theater stays alive.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
they are
Mhm.
taking hit movies and making them into musicals. So what are your thoughts on that? Because like we've discussed, there's not a lot of original
Yeah.
musical in theater right now. In the West End right now, I know there's Back to the Future, there's the Tina Turner musical, there's Sister Act. I don't know. I think that's the run's ended now. But there's a lot of movies like that, or they're getting, celebrities to be on stage, to get butts in seats and stuff like that. But for
Yeah.
me personally, I don't know. I'm just not enamored by celebrities. So that wouldn't entice me to go and watch a theater show because, oh, celebs in it. But what's your thoughts of where theater is and where do you think it's going to be in like the next 5 years?
I think that's a tricky question because I understand it's a business for these theater
Mm,
houses, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And they know that most people, especially right now in this economy, inflation is high. If I've got, discretionary income, I'm not going to gamble it on a show that I don't know, but I'll gamble it on Back to the Future because my grandmother watched it, or I grew up on it, or, it's
Mm.
familiar, or, Vanessa Williams is coming into town. We know who
Oh,
she is.
yeah,
We'll
yeah.
gamble on going to see Devil and Prada. And it's also a movie, Devil Wears Prada. So I think it's definitely more of a business decision, but it's lacking the artistic direction that I would like to see theaters have. But I get it. For the West End, it's not about artistic direction, it's about making money.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas for maybe off West End, off Broadway, they've got a little bit more leeway to develop some of these newer stories that people are gonna love. They just need the chance to see them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that's gonna change much on the West End. I think they're gonna continue to
Mm-hmm.
recycle,
Mm-hmm.
movie adaptations, celebrity appearances,
Yeah.
um, and known hits, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be.
Yeah. Unfortunately, but we'll see, hey, we're manifesting storms pass by. We said it here first on the public platform. So yeah, so eager,
Yes,
I told
yes,
you. Okay,
yes.
you
It's
know.
gonna happen.
hmm That's really
Well, because let
good.
me say this, there
hmm
are there are a few theaters that have slots for new musicals. So
Yeah.
like the Other Palace is really their focus is new musicals. Lyric, Hammersmith, they are
Yeah.
really they've got programs for new musicals.
hmm
So those theaters I think get it, but they also are different type of theaters being run
hmm
differently than
Yeah.
just your big names or whatever.
hmm hmm That's such a fair point. And I get that. I get that. So, Kia, you're back home now in Memphis. I see you just shining. The natural glow is coming because you're home. You left dusty old London. Um, so what's next for you now that you're back home, you're settled, what's next for you?
I don't feel settled. I feel like I've been in and out of a suitcase like since I've been here. I've
Mm-hmm.
already started teaching. I'm doing teaching artistry through the Orpheum, which is a theater here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I've got to carve out some space to think, Kashif,
Mm-hmm.
because I do want to continue to write. I have like three other ideas of a story that I want to get
Mm-hmm.
out.
Yeah.
Uh, but I also tell people it's important to recognize when you need rest. There's a time to be creative and there's a time to rest. There's a time to work and there's a time to rest. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm very much aware that I need some time to rest and just be present and
Yeah.
not be rushing to the next
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I plan to
Okay.
spend the holiday season is like, resting, doing a little bit of work, but really manifesting the life that I want to see for myself in
Mm-hmm.
2025. So
No.
that's what's next.
Good, 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 good. No, I love it. I love it. I know 2025, that's okay. It's all systems go, but you've had a long year. You've done so much. So yeah, I totally agree with that. You need to know about work-life balance might be another buzzword, but it really is, so that's good. So where can people find you? Where can people find Storms Pass by R&D to check it out as well? And keep updated with everything else you've got going on.
Yes, well, I've got a website called Experience Entertainment, and all of that's really through Instagram, KJ_management. I have my LinkedIn, and so it kind of takes you to everywhere else. And my YouTube channel, I have a YouTube channel, so all of that information is there. All of that is really rough, but keep up with us. And I say us because Sheep, I'm stealing him, y'all. I love him.
Yes.
Um,
I need to be bi-coastal in America and London. I'm being very serious.
yes.
Okay, I need to.
Definitely working on some new opportunities to show that story again, and some possible other stories as well, and maybe some new music too. We'll see. We'll see.
Mm, nice. Well, Kia, thank you so much for coming on the show. I think it was so great having you kick off season 4 of my podcast, and I can't wait for us to catch up soon because I know you'll be back soon for your graduation anyway. So yes, and just keep me posted with everything. So
Yes, no, thank
good.
you for who you are. 4 is actually my favorite number, so
Oh,
even this is meant to
wow.
be.
Mm-hmm.
Just know, thank you for being such a kind, caring, genuine, authentic person, and I want people to hear that as well. Thank you for who you are and who your heart is. I really, really appreciate you, and look
Thank
forward to working
you.
with you.
Yes, definitely. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in for the season 4 premiere of the Kashif Booth podcast. You can follow me all on my usual socials. You know them. There's a bunch of them. Stay tuned for new episodes coming soon.